Can we have, right at the top, a big round of applause for the winner of the 2009 Archibald Prize, Guy Maestri, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you. Thank you.
It has been a whirlwind 10 days since your name was announced. I know today you had one of the more traumatic gigs.
Horrific.
Tell us about one of the most traumatic gigs you've had as Archibald winner.
I did a guest lecture at my old art school, and it was mortifying. I don't know why. I was reasonably prepared, but just an enormous amount of expectant sort of faces, people looking for magical cures and all that sort of thing. I don't know if I had any.
Well, going back to your old school, you're sort of
tough.
You're the local boy made good. You're the hero who's risen from above the pack to this is like Ricky Ponting going back to his under-14 cricket team or something like that.
Yeah, the teachers talked to me more than they had done in the past, which is good.
Did you have one of those moments? Were there any teachers when you were at the National Art School who said, "Look, you're never going to cut it. You're never going to make it.
No.
You should."
I mean, I don't know, but it's funny when you leave school, you sort of are on your own. I've spent a lot of time. I know a lot of people have gone through that school over the last few years as well. But so I do spend time back there. But it's definitely a very different feeling going back there.
What was your message to those young artists today who 10, 15 years ago, 5 years ago were you? What was your message to them today in your capacity as Archibald winner?
I spoke about basically the importance of those fundamental learning days. You know, the time that you're there is meant for experiencing things that you're never going to actually experience once you leave there. So, I mean, for me it was a massive influence and a really important part of my development. So it was really nice to actually go back there and do that, but for some reason it was horrific. I couldn't eat, I couldn't do anything. It was quite horrible.
Let's go back to your basics. Born in Mudgee, 1974. Yep. How long did you live in Mudgee?
4 years.
Oh, okay. I had these questions planned about what was it like being a young artist growing up on the streets of Mudgee.
Mudgee came and went pretty quick.
Was the family long established in Mudgee?
No, I think 6 years or something. My father established the first unisex hairdressing salon that Mudgee had ever seen.
Really?
I think it was 70... My mum would know.
Well, it's somewhere between 74 and 78. We
76,
know that.
Something like that, yeah. So we left our mark and moved on.
What do you mean by the first unit? Had there been separate male and female hairdressers in Mudgee before then?
Apparently there was a barber shop, but the women had to actually go to Sydney to get a decent haircut.
Before your dad broke through?
He broke through, yeah.
Was there much pushback against that in Mudgee in the mid-70s?
I think there probably was. I haven't heard anything too harrowing, but certainly there would have been murmurs.
If you want to know more, your mum is actually here. Where is Denise?
Where's Mum?
Can Denise put her hand up?
Hey, hi,
there
Mum.
we are, the mother of the 2009 Archer. Stand up for a second, Denise.
My biggest fan.
Yeah.
And her sister Rosalind, my Auntie Ros is here.
We probably won't have enough time to get through everything we want to talk about tonight, so if anyone really wants to hone in on the Mudgee 1974 to 1978, talk to Denise after the talk, might be the best way to go about it. You come from an artistic family. Your grandfather?
Yep.
Watercolours?
Yeah, he died the year before I was born, so I never knew him, but I was sort of raised half of my life by his wife, my grandmother, and he's got sort of reams of watercolours that he did as a young guy and all throughout his life, but obviously it just was one of those situations where it just wasn't an option to pursue that sort of thing.
When did it become an option for you? Did you have an artistic bent from a young age that you explored?
I did, but I went and got a trade, as you do when you leave school, and so I spent a few years as a boat builder before realising that my heart wasn't in it. It was ridiculous.
Is there an artistic side to boat building? Does it fulfil you creatively, or...?
No, not really. I mean, there's a certain element of it that's Well, I mean, there's fine work you do, but creatively, you're basically dictated to. You know, you got to do this, and that was the thing.
It's got to float. It can't have holes in it. That sort of thing.
And you don't get to choose, you know, the colour of the drapes and all that sort of thing. You've got to do what someone else.
Whilst you were building boats, were you painting and creating art on the side, or?
Yeah, vaguely, but I mean, I always have done, but it wasn't until I quit that I just seriously sort of threw myself into it.
We've seen rotating on the screens some of the other work you've done outside of this year's winning entry and outside of your portrait work as well. There's a lot of painting you've done that's not portrait work, for which you'd be very well known. Do you consider yourself a portrait artist? Do you consider yourself considerably more of a portrait artist after Friday week ago?
I probably have to, but I'm not a portrait painter, actually. I'm one of those guys who does a portrait every year for the Archibald, which we all do it. I mean...
Anyone else here done it? Quick hands up. Anyone else here? Yeah, up the back there? Mate, don't be ashamed. That's what this year's winner's done.
But, I mean, it's been a really good experience in that it has prompted me to... it's painted in a very different way, so I've sort of... It's steered me in other directions, which has been... And I always... I mean, I've done a lot of... you know, I've entered this a lot of times and a lot of prizes, and if you can take something positive from your experience, and if it prompts you to actually do something or, you know, venture to some medium that you wouldn't actually use, then it's a positive experience, I guess. You have
entered this many times. You've been part of these 708 total entries many times. You've never been part of this top 37 or so that make it through.
No.
Any of those 8 years you've been a little bit more pissed off than others that you haven't made it?
I mean, even this time I was sitting around with my mates plotting revenge against the the art gallery. Plot revenge every year. This one was particularly heinous, actually. But so luckily, I mean, my mates are still plotting revenge, but I'm fine.
Have you hung out? You would have hung out in the 10 days since with artist mates who've all entered the Archibald before. What's it like when you're suddenly the first person in the group who's won it?
So far, it's all right. It's amazing how happy people actually have been for me. I haven't copped any shit so far. So, you know, it's been really good. And I've, you know, every long lost friend and relative that I've ever known has contacted me, and it's actually been really amazing. So.
Yeah, did you think Maestri was a fairly rare surname in Australia until about midday last Friday when there turns out there's just millions of them?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Because my middle name is Maestri. Yeah, it's
nice.
We grew up in the sort of the Paddington end of Mudgee.
Yeah.
With those artworks I've referred to there, you've picked just a selection of some of your works. Are there any generic themes in what people are looking at there? Anything that defines your style, your work, your attitude?
I guess I'm known as someone who works very gesturally and liberally, and I sort of tried to throw in a lot of things that have not that I'm not known for. I'm always doing some sort of experimental work, so it's actually nice. I mean, some of the works here have never been seen outside the studio, so. Yeah, I mean, I'm known for, I guess, a sort of a landscape-based gestural sort of abstractionist who throws a lot of paint around.
Has anyone here seen Guy's cane-toed works before? Yep, tell us quickly about the cane-toads and then we'll move on to last Friday.
So my work's generally based on, my observations of environmental impact or etc. By humans. So I learnt a lot about casting and moulding actually from boat building. That was actually one benefit.
There you go.
So I bought a stuffed cane toad from somewhere in Queensland that sells like cane toad purses and hats and all sorts of stuff. And I made
They're
myself...
They're different up there, aren't they?
They're very different.
Yeah.
But they sent me one down, and I think... So I made a mould of it, and I set about casting... we don't know what to call it, as a herd, a flock, what do we call it? A curse?
A curse of cane toes, I think so, yeah.
I mean, that was something that, again, it's just an offshoot, but it's something that I felt tied to my sort of theme and my way of working. But, yeah, it's just something a little bit different.
Let's move ourselves now to the work that everyone is talking about. Friday week ago, your name is called out as the winner of the 2009 Archibald Prize. Did you already know at the time that you'd won?
Yeah, I got a call at about 9:30 that morning after a horrible night, convincing myself that it was not, just another one of those things.
Because this is your first time on the short list.
Yeah. So it was stressful enough, just being there,
Had you been in and checked them all out and formed an opinion?
I saw them online. I saw the works online, and I thought I had absolutely no hope.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to tell until you actually look at the works in the flesh, but there was some really strong work. So anyway, I got a call at 9:30, and stumbled about the house for
Who called you?
A lady, Suzanne Briggs, a lady from the gallery. She looked after me really well. She gave me water and sandwiches,
smelling salts,
and she told me. Well, in fact, she said, "Look, you've got to come in early because I've got to sit you down and actually tell you what's going to happen to you because it's pretty intense." So I came in a little bit earlier that day.
How'd you come in? Bus ride, taxi, drive?
I got a cab.
Yeah?
I got a cab.
What's the cab line? Seriously, what's the cab ride like to the art gallery knowing that you've won the Archibald Prize?
Very different experience. I mean, I just swore amazing amounts. Basically, that's all I could do for some reason.
Did you ring someone the moment you found out?
I rang dear old Denise, and I rang my father, of course. But basically, I wasn't really allowed to ring anyone else. But within minutes, I was getting hundreds of messages. So the word got out pretty quick. Yeah.
What were you doing? Mum was texting and twittering people.
Mum can't text. So. I mean, she can, but it's not that fast.
Did you? Archibald.
The other day, I got a text because Mum lives up the coast. She was coming down. Well, I didn't know she was coming down. I got one text that said, "Guy, I am," and then that was the whole text. Then I got another text saying, "I am." I don't know what that was about. And then I got a phone call to say I'm coming down. It's quite funny.
Well, if I can digress for a second, my mum's great with the text, but she hasn't worked out yet that if a different word comes up to the one you want on the predictive, you can press a button and change it.
Yeah, right.
So I get all these blah, 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 see you soon, love, none, N-U-N.
Yeah.
It's as though there's some woman in the local sisterhood who's really got the hots for me. It's very offering to come over and look after my children. Very weird. So did you have that moment just when you were called, I must ask, because it's a great Australian tradition, anyone who wins anything or receives anything, when someone's told, congratulations, you're in the Australian cricket team, they always say, and I thought it was one of my mates doing a practical joke. Did you think someone was having a lend, or did you instantly know, I have won the Archibald Prize?
My friend loves to do those sort of pranks, and I was eagerly awaiting one of them. But this woman was very professional, and I knew it. I knew what was going on.
And the event itself, the presentation, your name being read out, a surreal experience. Can you remember?
Extremely. I don't really remember a lot of any sort of specifics, but yeah, just a absolute daze.
Let's discuss the work. Your subject. How did you hear about and meet Gurrumul?
Music festival up the coast, just mid-north coast at Pete's Ridge over New Year. I saw him play for the first time. I'd never heard of him before, but anyway, it was an amazing experience and very touching.
Hands up who is familiar with the work, the music of Gurrumul Yunupingu, yes? If you haven't listened to it yet, if I can make a recommendation, amazing, soulful, incredible voice of this man from a remote part of Australia, completely blind guitarist and singer, What was it about watching him sing and the reaction that struck you?
I think you don't know. You don't know. He's singing in his native tongue generally, so you don't actually know what's being specifically sung about. But somehow you sort of know that there's obviously this connection to ancestry and the land and family, and it just seemed to be apparent.
I read somewhere you said people were literally crying whilst he was playing.
Yeah, absolutely. It really was. It was an experience unlike. I mean, I see a lot of music, and I'm always really inspired. But it was unlike anything else I'd ever experienced.
What was it about that? Because that's a primarily oral experience. What was it about that made you think that would translate to a portrait?
I mean, it had a lot of effect on the way that I presented that I painted the work, and I just think it was, listening to it a lot while I worked on it. What am I saying? It governed the way the work came out. It wasn't a way that I'd ever sort of approached a work before, so it had a lot of effect on the physicality of the work.
He's remarkably reclusive. When did you tie him down for a session?
I had one slim window of opportunity. That was at the airport. They were flying to New York to play Carnegie Hall or something.
Okay.
It was pretty big, pretty good.
Wow.
My friend had contacted their management, and basically I was told that it wasn't going to be possible because they were just coming into Sydney and leaving again, basically, I think. So, but I knew that just a short time was better than any. So I just went and met them at the airport and had a sitting, and that's where it all. In
the Qantas Club, or in the baggage queue, or where were you?
All the band equipment gets sort of booked on in another section. So there was a little bit of a quiet corner that Gurrumul was sitting in, and so while they booked all the equipment on, I just, we had a sort of a private quarter, but a lot of hustle and bustle going on around. I mean, it was pretty bizarre experience, actually.
What's it like having someone posing for you? Because I presume for anyone who's sitting to have their portrait taken, it's a pretty intense experience for them, and they're probably very self-conscious. You're saying just relax, look normal. He's blind. What's that like? What does that make him like as a subject? Is he less self-aware?
Well, it sort of became apparent that I wasn't going to do any sort of, move here, move there, any positioning or have any of that sort of control. It was very apparent that he was listening intently to everything that was going on, and you're aware that he did know everything that was going on. But I guess so. Obviously you do concentrate a lot on the eyes when you're painting a portrait. So this was a different experience. It was more of approaching it as more of a sort of all-round vibe, I guess.
Were you speaking with him much as well? Was he talking to you?
No, not really.
He's very shy and reclusive.
Yeah. We spoke initially, and I explained all about the Archibald Prize, and just why I wanted to why I chose to paint him, and basically it was a pretty sort of quiet and intimate sort of meeting, but sort of surreal within this airport terminal.
And then from you, taking that raw stock, was it photos or sketches? What had you done?
I did a lot of sketches and some sort of detailed studies, of ears and things like that, just to sort of get some reference points. I took a dark sort of blurry photo, which I just took that one photo, and it was a perfect sort of reference to the sort of feel and mood that I wanted to have. So, I worked from both of those elements, and there was just enough there to help support the drawings, but there wasn't too much there to sort of overwork, I guess, just to.
quick show of hands, anyone who has seen the winning artwork? The vast bulk of people here have? Okay, so let's get into that in detail. What's the process from those raws, those stills, those sketches to putting it together? How did you go about that?
It's basically just built out of like a lot of transparent glazes. So it's oil paint, but really thinned down. And so every day I'd basically built up another layer just to build that sort of form and volume, but in a really subtle way, basically.
Every day for how many days?
Well, it was over about a month. So maybe not every single day, but there might be maybe 20 individual sort of layers and so there's no actual white. The white is the ground is the white of the canvas coming through.
Okay.
So it's just a matter of the highlights you actually leave and just building up the form.
And I've spoken regularly to the people who the packers who are in charge of receiving the works on Archibald each year, and there's few things funnier than being here on the day about 5 minutes before nominations close for the Archibald, because there's literally just this stream of artists sprinting down the street with portraits under their arm that are still wet and coming off on their team. Was it that sort of an entry, or were you done well in advance?
No, I mean, the last layer went down the day before, but I knew that the medium basically dried pretty much overnight, so it was a bit tacky.
But if you'd spilt something...
It was a bit tacky, and there was actually fluff stuck to it the other day when I had a look at it. But it wasn't wet enough to sort of rub off on other...
Yeah. I read what the judges said about that fluff. They thought that was beautifully temporary, very now. Were you, as you handed it in, were you proud of the work? Were you bursting at the seams? Were you happy with how it had come together?
I liked the work, but I didn't want it to be on the news, because apparently that's like the kiss of death. So we sort of... I brought it in facing the wall and we put it in the corner. I didn't want it to be seen, basically.
So when you'd heard nothing about it, you thought that's a good sign?
Yeah.
What's the 10 days been like since your name was read out?
Yeah, pretty insane. Sleeping and eating's become quite difficult for some bizarre reason. But the rest of it's been really nice. A lot of amazing family support and connections and all that sort of thing. And a lot of talking about the work, obviously, which is sort of good. And yeah, being accepted into a place like this feels really amazing, and having a glass of wine with Edmund upstairs, that's awesome.
Where to now for you? You're 35 years old.
34.
34.
Jesus.
Soon to be 35. I'm 40. You're a young'un. Ben Quilty, who you would know, who won a Whiteley Scholarship a few years ago. You came very close to winning one in 2002, 2003 and 2004. You and Ben have both burst through this year. He's just done stuff in the Moran. You've won the Archibald. Do you feel... Is there going to be some pressure on you for the next little while? Are you part of the next wave of young punk Australian artists out there to shake up the system? Is there...
I wish I was punk.
Yeah.
I'm not punk. I don't know what it means. I don't know. It just means for me that I'm going to... work hard, and have confidence to sort of explore ideas and make sure, I don't sort of drag the chain and do the best I can.
Can we please congratulate Guy Maestri, the 2009 Archibald Prize winner.